All right, good afternoon, everybody. This is the Fantasy Sports Boss. It is Overreaction Monday time, and also Monday Night Football, New York Jets and the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to get to all of that, in just a couple of minutes. Also, I'm going to update the injury report from yesterday's games. But of course, today is 9/11, and being that I'm from and currently am in New York, I just wanted to take a second to pay respects. It's been 20 plus years now since 9/11, and I know for me personally, living here in New York now, I'm out on Long Island. I wasn't in the city when it happened, but it was a surreal experience, something I'll never forget for as long as I live. And unless you live through that, you'll understand the fear and the anxiety, stress, confusion, all of those adjectives applied to what was just a beyond frightening day. Both here in New York and around the country, and even around the world for that matter. Again, wanted to take a second out of the show just to acknowledge that before we get into anything else. And again, just amazing that something that like that even took place. All those years ago, and memories start to fade a little bit. Of course, young people now are, there's kids in college that weren't alive when 9/11 happened. But for anybody who lived through it, for sure, that was a very, very difficult day, and one that we'll never forget for sure. So anyway, I just wanted to get that out of the way quickly. Yes, thoughts and prayers, Will. And he's in Islip, New York. I'm on the east end of Long Island, so we both, have firsthand knowledge about, what happened there. So again, just wanted to pay respects, acknowledge 9/11. Right off the bat here today. So Tony's from Islip, excuse me. But Will wanted to pay his respects too. So thank you guys. I appreciate that. And now for tonight, like I said, Overreaction Monday, and there's certainly a lot to talk about from yesterday. Tomorrow, I'm going to discuss the waiver wire, so tune in for that. And then, today, of course, we have the New York Jets and the Buffalo Bills, which should be an interesting game. Anything about Calvin Ridley? I don't know anything about the stat correction. What happened with the stat correction? Jackson, if you could fill me in on that. I didn't hear anything about that. But I'm curious to know what you're referring to. But anyway, so tonight for me personally, get this. So in my work league, so I won my friends and family league already, going away pretty well. And Jesus, I'll touch on the Giants in a second. I'm going to save that before I get all aggravated. But in my work league, I'm down 4 points even going into tonight. I have Josh Allen, and my opponent has Aaron Rodgers. I mean, like, that's going to go right down to the wire. I have a feeling I'm going to lose. I think the Jets are going to be all jacked up for this game. And, I know Buffalo defense is tough, but the Jets defense is even tougher. So I have a feeling I'm going to lose. It might be one of those heartbreakers where I lose by like less than 2 points. Like I hate when that happens. That's, one of the worst parts about fantasy football, when you lose like that. But down 4 points, I think, at least I have a shot. So, we'll have to see what happens there. Now, the Giants game last night. I mean, listen, you all saw me yesterday with my Giants shirt on. I was all pumped up for the game. Couldn't wait. Giants started with the ball. They were moving the ball. Daniel Jones, a couple of runs. Things were looking up, right? Well, the fumbled snap from the rookie center and then a blocked field goal attempt, which went for a touchdown. And then it was literally all downhill from there. And by the end of the game, the Dallas Cowboy defense had 40-plus fantasy points, which is just absurd. I believe the Dallas defense was the second highest scoring player in fantasy behind Tyreek Hill. That's how ridiculous it was. The Giants did nothing. Darren Waller, who I double dipped on, 3 catches for 30-plus yards. Saquon Barkley, I think, had 9 fantasy points. It was a complete shit fest. No matter how you look at it. I mean, it was pathetic. And this is from a Brian Dable coach team who I thought did the best coaching job in the NFL last year. So that was beyond rough to see that. And it definitely shakes you to the core as a Giants fan and as a fantasy owner of a Saquon Barkley, of a Darren Waller, even a Daniel Jones in a Superflex league. So, so you need 44 from Diggs and Bass. That might be asking a lot, Tony. Sleeper says 126 receiving yards in yesterday, and it said he had 101. Okay, I didn't hear about this with Calvin Ridley. That's never happened to me. I've never ever woken up with a victory after going to bed losing because of a stat correction. Like I've never had that happen to me. So congratulations, Jackson. That's good news there. But anyway, with the Giants, it was beyond dreadful. And the Dallas defense looks for real. And Tony Pollard rushed for 2 touchdowns. And the biggest thing you could take from there is that he had pretty much the total control of the backfield. Got the goal line work, and he's going to be set up in good spots by this defense. He fell into the second round last year. I know I passed him up for A.J. Brown in one of my leagues. Maybe I'm going to go and regret that down the line. But this Dallas defense looks like a Super Bowl caliber defense. Like it really was scary how good they were. So the Giants were bad, but I think they were made to look a lot worse because of the Dallas defense. And one of the overreactions that I had written down for today was that the Giants offensive line and their struggles will sink Saquon Barkley this season. I think that's an overreaction. That's one of the themes that were out there today about this Giants offensive line. Now, Andrew Thomas is heading for an MRI. They're all pro left tackle because of a hamstring injury. He actually gutted through it and finished the game. But I think it's an overreaction. I think this Dallas defense is just that good. Trayvon Diggs and Micah Parsons and Dexter Lawrence and Stephon Gilmore, who they brought in, which was a really shrewd move that didn't get a lot of attention. I just think this defense is that good. Now, Neal, the right tackle, has to play better. Evan Neal, no doubt about it. And he struggled again yesterday. He struggled badly against the Cowboys last year. But I think that's an overreaction. I think Saquon Barkley is going to be used liberally. They probably will even try to run him into the ground because he may not even come back to the Giants next year. So I think that is an overreaction for sure. Now, another theme that came out of yesterday is that Drake London and Kyle Pitts will have a second straight disappointing season because of the setup of the Falcons offense. That is not an overreaction. Anybody who saw that game yesterday saw that Desmond Ridder had more receptions than Drake London and 1 fewer than Kyle Pitts. Drake London had 1 target. He threw the ball 16 times, talking about Ridder. So it clearly showed, yes, the running game was working. They're going to ride out Bijan Robinson. They're going to ride out Tyler Algier. It shows that this Falcons coaching staff has no faith in Desmond Ridder, nor really should they. And I've spoken to you all summer about the reservations I have about Desmond Ridder. I don't think he's any good. His accuracy sucks. And again, it's a shame because they have these young guys, high-end top shelf talent guys like Kyle Pitts and Drake London, and they're being neutered by the offense that they're in, by the quarterback play. And I think it's criminally negligible what the Falcons coaching staff and the front office did going into the season without a quarterback. And it's really having a detrimental effect. Now, Kyle Pitts, you're going to continue to ride him because you still paid a premium for him. Drake London, you have to now consider downgrading him to a flex only. And maybe if you have a better option, you put him on a bench outright. Like that's how bad it was yesterday. Disappointed most of my team last night. Hurts. Adams, Lamb didn't pull through for me, and now I'm facing Garrett Wilson, who only needs 13 points. Oh, yeah, Johnny, I think you're going to lose. I think Garrett Wilson's going to have a huge day, and I have him in one of my leagues, the league that I'm winning in. Listen, as far as Hurts and the Eagles, the weather was atrocious. Now, I know Mac Jones threw for 3 touchdowns, and they do have a new offensive coordinator, so maybe they're working out some kinks there. But I'm not worried about the Eagles offensively. I am worried about DeAndre Swift. I mean, my God. So much unrealized potential with DeAndre Swift. It's scary. And Kenneth Gainwell did a decent job yesterday. I don't think he lost the opportunity to not be the guy this Thursday against the Minnesota Vikings. If you're holding any shares in DeAndre Swift, you have to bench him now for the time being and just see what materializes from this point forward. Garrett Wilson was inconsistent, Johnny, because he had an awful quarterback play. That's not going to be an issue this year. He's going to be treated like Devontae Adams from Aaron Rodgers. All right, so Derrick Henry will see more and more work to Tyjae Spears. I think that's an overreaction. Henry still played well yesterday. I know he had limited touches. Tyjae Spears was on the field more than we anticipated. But listen, it was an ugly loss for the Titans. They know Derrick Henry is the leader of this team. He's the leader of this offense. They're going to put the ball back in Derrick Henry's hands. I don't think there's any concern for me going forward. I think it's an overreaction, the amount of attention and work that Tyjae Spears got. Now, he does have potential, no doubt about it. If anything were to happen to Derrick Henry, I think Tyjae Spears could be in very, very solid flex play, maybe even a running back 2 in PPR leagues. But for now, I don't think there's any reason to worry about Derrick Henry. Still hopeful for Kareem Hunt landing somewhere. Ravens say they're like they're in. Yeah, and they're going to promote Melvin Gordon. I don't know what to. I'm going to hold on to Kareem Hunt for another few days. I'm just going to let him go. I'm not going to wait around. There's no point. And I'll get into the waiver wire stuff tomorrow. But Puka Nacua. So obviously he's the talk of fantasy football after he did a Cooper Kupp impression yesterday in week 1. But it is so fantasy football. It would be so fantasy football if next week, if everybody fought over him, he catches like 2 balls for 10 yards. Like I could totally see that. This guy completely fell off the radar with the NFL draft this past April. I think he was a 5th round pick. Runs precise routes, underrated guy. Looks to be a diamond in the rough. One game, excellent game, no doubt about it. And Matthew Stafford looked reinvigorated. He looked healthy. He looked good. The offensive line shockingly held up. Major dog of an effort by the Seattle Seahawks. But Puka Nacua is going to be the number 1 waiver ad this week, I think. And I think that, he could be solid. And, the thing, too, that makes me a little bit more intrigued with him is that, Cooper Kupp is seeing specialists, right, for his hamstring. So that tells me, and he's already been put on IR, that tells me that there's something worse than just a hamstring strain, right? So if he's seeing a specialist, the team is maybe not sure how bad it is, or it's bad and they're not really publicly acknowledging it, and that he could be out even beyond the 4 weeks. So, and listen, this morning, you really had to feel for everybody. And there were a lot of people who did it, who wound up drafting Cooper Kupp over Tyreek Hill in the middle of the first round. That was in that spot. Once the top 4 guys, Eckler, McCaffrey, Jefferson, Chase were off the board, then it was Bijan Robinson, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill. And there was a lot of people that said, all right, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill. Cooper Kupp, was leading the NFL in points per game before he got hurt last year, was put up one of the greatest seasons of all time the year before that. I'm going to go with him. He doesn't have as much competition. And now look what happened. So, anybody who drafted Cooper Kupp over Tyreek Hill, really, really suffering this morning. Kenneth Walker might be one of the few workhorses. Yeah, he could be. Riley, he could be. Wasn't the best game for him, but his workload was encouraging. So Charbonnet did not play as much as I thought he would. So at least if you're a Walker owner, you have to be a little optimistic going forward. Deshaun Watson is back. I think that is an overreaction. Now, yesterday, I kind of sung his praises, right? I watched the game, but the more I looked into it, he really didn't play that well. Now, he ran the ball. There were some design runs, which were good, and he scored a rushing touchdown, and he had a 2-point conversion that helped, prop up his outing. He threw a touchdown pass, but his accuracy wasn't good. And, you have to wonder, too, with the design of this offense. It's a run-based offense primarily with Nick Chubb. This is not the wide-open Houston offense that Deshaun Watson was running under Bill O'Brien. All right, so this is a different offense. It's a lot of running with Nick Chubb. So, I know I was high on Deshaun Watson coming in just because it was a good buying opportunity for a guy who's still 27 years old and who just a few years ago led the NFL in passing yards while running for over 400 yards. So, I still stand by that. But I will admit that, A, he's not back, not yet, and he still looks a little shaky to me. As a Cup owner, should I invest? Yeah, you should. You might as well, M. John, because at least when Cup gets back, you have both guys like that. Nacua, I guess, could be considered the handcuff for Cooper Kupp. So yeah, I would invest in him. Maybe don't go too crazy because this could still crash back to earth this week. Now the teams have a book on him. But he's intriguing for sure. T. Higgins has checked out after catching no passes Sunday. That to me is an overreaction. Now, when I say checked out, did not get the new contract from the team. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the season, so that clearly can be something that could distract him, like it would a lot of players. I think it's an overreaction. He had 8 targets. All right, it was pouring rain, just not ideal conditions at all. He had a rusty Joe Burrow, and Jamar Chase didn't put up numbers really either. I know he caught some passes on like Higgins, but it wasn't a great outing for him either. So I think it's a gross overreaction. As a matter of fact, I would try to buy low on T. Higgins, take advantage of that bagel in the receiving column. Whereas Drake London, I wouldn't even go near. T. Higgins is still in the pass-first offense. I think he's a good buy low. In fact, I myself am trying to get him. Brandon Ayuk is a top 10 wide receiver. This is not an overreaction. He was unbelievable. If you take away the fact that he was in the doghouse to start the year a couple of years ago. He has been a dominant wideout since. He's leaving Deebo Samuel in his wake. And this is why I wasn't a big fan of Samuel both last year and this year, because Brandon Ayuk is just that good. There's a lot of mouths to feed in this offense. Brock Purdy's doing a nice job, but he's not a gunslinger by any means. They're still run heavy. They are still run heavy with Christian McCaffrey. So it's not an overreaction to say that Brandon Ayuk could be a top 10 guy. How good is Jerome Ford? Well, he fumbled. I wouldn't let go of Jalen Warren for him. No. So Jalen Warren, was more explosive in the opener. Najee Harris played crappy again. I would not do that. Jerome Ford is not a threat to Nick Chubb, and Nick Chubb has been very durable overall. So I wouldn't do that. Josh Kelly might have standalone value. So Austin Eckler tweaked his ankle late in the game. Josh Kelly came on. He ran for 91 yards. He got, I believe it was like 15 carries. So he was heavily involved. Now this is a new offense, right? You have Kellen Moore running the show. And remember, when Kellen Moore was in Dallas, he had the two-headed monster of Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. So that could be what he's trying to create here as well. So I do think Josh Kelly should be picked up off free agent wire this week. As himself alone, he is a top handcuff for Austin Eckler, who, again, with all the heavy workload he's had the last couple of years, I'm afraid of injuries going forward. So he is definitely somebody I would be interested in picking up, going forward. Now, let me take a look at the injuries. And again, J.K. Dobbins, that was the big one. He's out for the season. We already know that. Now, speaking of Puka Nacua, he got hit in the ribs yesterday, but he's supposed to be good to go against San Francisco. And that's another thing. So the Rams are playing the 49ers. That's a rough potential outing for them. 49ers defense is just off the charts, just as good as Dallas. So, again, Puka Nacua might not have anywhere near the game that he had yesterday. So, Breece Hall is playing tonight, by the way. So, Carl Lawson is not. Breece Hall is playing. I'm curious to see how many carries he gets with Dalvin Cook in the fold. Do we buy low on Breece Hall? I think so. Dalvin Cook's not going anywhere. And if he's healthy and he's productive early on, Dalvin Cook is probably going to be a 50-50 share, which is not ideal. But Breece Hall has the goods to be a true game-breaking back. I don't think the Ravens are going to sell on one guy. The 3 or 4-headed committee. Yeah, the Ravens tend to do this with the committees. They've always historically done that. The offense, other than Zay Flowers, the offense didn't look great. But I think Mark Andrews coming back this week should help open things up further. And Zay Jones was the guy I said was going to be the most productive rookie wide receiver in fantasy this year. And by all indications, that seems to be the case so far. All right, so Brandon Staley, Austin Eckler had an ankle issue during the game, and his status is to be determined for Wednesday. I had to read that twice. So Eckler might miss practice Wednesday. I'm not worried about this yet. But, it is a reminder that, he's had a lot of work the last couple of years. He's a smallish back. Is he going to start to wear a little bit? Kyron Williams sees I'm not doing it. Listen, he is a plodding runner. I know he got the touches and he got the touchdowns and, he can catch the ball much better than Cam Akers. I mean, and again, Cam Akers, my God. I mean, 29 yards on 22 carries. I could do better than that, right? I mean, that was just beyond pathetic. But I wouldn't go crazy with Kyron Williams. He was a late round pick for a reason. He doesn't have a lot of speed. He can catch the football, which I guess in PPR leagues could make him a flex, but I'm not going out of my way to chase him. All right. So let's see. Not a lot of big name guys. Josh Dobbs is starting again for Arizona this week against the Giants. So this is a get well spot for Saquon Barkley and Darren Waller against the Cardinals. All right. Christian Watson. All right. So Christian Watson, same injury, same leg that he had the hamstring strain last season. That caused him to miss 3 games. It seems like it's a wait and see issue with Christian Watson. So we gotta see how that plays out. And listen, Jordan Love played well. I mean, he did, and Justin Fields did not. And I wanted to touch on that for a second. Is Akers worth dropping for a good waiver wire pickup? I wouldn't do that yet. Let's see. Give it another week. He finished strong last year. I refuse to think that after one game he's done. How much fab should we spend on these guys? Can you do a video on 100? I could do that. Yes, Terrell, I could do that. You got to be very careful how much you spend early on. I mean, if it's an obvious case, then yes. But like Kyron Williams, I wouldn't go crazy about. Puka Nacua, I mean, I guess you could do that, but you want to have funds by the end of the year, so you got to be careful with that. Oh, Justin Fields. That's what I wanted to talk about. So the issue I had with Justin Fields, and I spoke about it on this program, is I just don't like him as a passer. Okay. They brought in DJ Moore. They have Cole Kmet. Darnell Mooney's back. And it was a shitstorm yesterday. I mean, it was horrendous. He's turnover prone. He had an interception and a fumble. He had a lot of fumbles last year. He only lost 2. He was very fortunate. He picked up garbage time points. Now, I know it all counts, but when the game was in doubt, he was horrendous. Horrendous. And here's the thing, guys. If the NFL defenses are going to start scheming more and more to stop these design runs, and Fields has to prove he can beat them with his arm and his passing, and he has not proven that to this point. And it was ugly yesterday. His passing is not impressive at all. And if you stunt his running game, like he didn't run down the stretch last year in the fantasy football playoffs, he was not running the football because he was banged up, and he did virtually nothing throwing the ball. You can't rely on Justin Fields if the running is not there to save his fantasy day. It's not going to happen, at least at this point with his passing. So that's why he represented a lot of risk. I prefer Trevor Lawrence over him. I prefer Justin Herbert over him. No doubt in my mind, those guys I was going with, over Justin Fields. And again, he also takes a lot of hits. He's been leading with his head. He led with his head yesterday. Again, that's trouble. He's not sliding. Anthony Richardson has to learn that too. That's why he got banged up yesterday. So, it's a little shaky with Justin Fields, and I'm not totally surprised. 59 TDs scored this weekend. Yeah, it was ugly, Terrell. Absolutely ugly. It was comical because, there were people posting stuff on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, how, like, if you started the day with this team, you felt great. Joe Burrow at quarterback, T. Higgins at wideout, Dallas Goedert at tight end, like Drake London at wideout. And then you ended up with 6 total points. And it's comical, but it's true. I mean, there were so many key guys that just completely shit the bed. I'm good with Higgins. I'm not good with Drake London. I don't think he's going to turn it around. It's going to be way too inconsistent for me, and it's a real shame. Dallas Goedert, you're not going to drop him yet. I think, again, the weather played a factor in that one. It was ugly yesterday. It really was. I mean, even Jalen Hurts didn't put up big numbers. The tight end position is a complete joke right now. Mark Andrews missed the game. Waller did nothing. Kelsey missed the game. Kittle did nothing. Hawkinson was the only one who produced, but his 8 catches, I think it was 8 or 9 catches, went for like 30-something yards. So, his yards cratered when he went from Detroit to Minnesota. That's one thing a lot of people overlooked last season. So, the tight end position was not good. David Njoku did nothing. It was ugly, no matter, how you looked at it. Yes, Hurts is the true winner. All right, Hayden Hurst, right? I told you guys, pick up Hayden Hurst. He scored a touchdown. He was good. Adam Thielen looked shot. Jonathan Mingo, wasn't buying Jonathan Mingo at any point. He never led his college team in receiving, as I've said before. Hans, Drake London, his name, that's about the only thing Drake London has going for him. Mac Jones and Matt Stafford. I'm not doing Mac Jones. I'm sorry. I'm just not doing that. I wouldn't give up on Geno yet. I would go Matt Stafford over Jones. But yeah, Hayden Hurst, rookie quarterbacks love throwing the tight end. And listen, the numbers backed it up. I gave you Hayden Hurst. I begged you all to draft him. He's going to be very good. I almost wish I should have just picked him up and just not played Darren Waller, knowing that it was raining, knowing that he was a bit health compromised. Going into that game last night. It was ugly. I mean, it was really bad. And by the way, getting back to the Bills-Jets game, what is wrong with the Bills not playing DeMar Hamlin? He's a healthy scratch tonight. I mean, how do you not, the first possible game he's available to play, how do you not put him out there? I mean, I don't care what the secondary looks like. You put him in uniform. I mean, you talk about an emotional moment. Again, Monday Night Football, when all this happened last season against the Cincinnati Bengals, like it's just a dumb, blown opportunity by Sean McDermott. I don't know what he was thinking there. Just a disappointing move because I would love to have seen him in there tonight, no doubt about it. But anyway, so yeah, that's disappointing. But I'm hoping with Josh in my matchup, Josh Allen, I need 4.01 points to win, and he's got Aaron Rodgers. when it's like this, I almost don't like watching the games because it just makes me a little crazy, And I have a really tough schedule in my work league. I'm playing a good team next week, so 0-1 could quickly turn into 0-2, and I really like my team after the draft. I drafted Freiermuth instead of Hurts. I mean, listen, Hans, everybody would have done that. I know he's banged up, and he only had the one catch, which went for a touchdown. You can't blame yourself for that. Nobody was really drafting Hayden Hurst other than deeper leagues, so you can't really kick yourself for that. But if Hayden Hurst is still available, I would pick him up wherever you can because he's a good receiver. He's done some good things in the past, and he's in the right offense now to consistently contribute the next couple of weeks going forward. So I would do that. So, the Steelers are bad. Steelers, Giants, scary bad. Falcons, Miles Sanders did about the best that he could. Thoughts on Puka Nacua? I talked about it earlier, Aladdin. I think he's obviously worth adding, but I'm just a little concerned. He's got a tough matchup this week, very tough matchup this week against San Francisco, and he could just as quickly go back to catching, go back to 2 catches for 10 yards this week, because that's fantasy football for you, right? I mean, how many times have we seen that, right? Week 1 heroes turn into week 2 duds very quickly. Would you do this trade? I give up Saquon and Garrett Wilson for Mike Williams and Justin Jefferson. I mean, that's hard to answer that without knowing who your other running backs are. I mean, obviously, Justin Jefferson is the best player, but Mike Williams can't ever stay healthy. Garrett Wilson is going to be a top 5 wideout this year. I truly believe that. Justin Jefferson, it's almost unfair how good he is. Like, I have him in the league that I won going away. Just ridiculous. 130 yards, whatever it was. But then, Tyreek Hill makes that look like nothing. And listen, again, Tua Tagovailoa, he is going to put up major numbers when he's healthy. We saw it again yesterday, 400-plus yards, 3 passing touchdowns. The guy is legit. I don't think there's any question about it. Tyreek Jefferson, listen, Jefferson is physically the most talented receiver in football. But what I will say about Tyreek Hill, there is nobody in the NFL that can completely wreck a game more than Tyreek Hill can. Nobody who could completely dominate, take over, wreck, destroy a game. Nobody does it better than Tyreek Hill. There is no doubt about that. Like the epitome of a home run hitter. If he wasn't such a bad apple off the field, it would be a lot easier to root for him. That's for sure. Thomas did outperform Dotson, so thank you, though, Olavi. So I was worried about Dotson. I mean, it wasn't great. Terry McLaurin was even worse. Sam Howell wasn't. It was his second start, so I'm going to give him a little bit of a leash there. But I was happy with Michael Thomas. He got 8 targets, 5 receptions. He started off with a bang, 30-something yard catch right out of the gate. Yes, Chris Olave is going to be the guy. But there's a very concentrated, receiving tree there. Rashid Shaheed, very, all or nothing deep threat, although he was good yesterday. Michael Thomas, we know, can really take over a game in a short to intermediate range. But Derek Carr, the only thing that concerns me about Michael Thomas is that Derek Carr loves to fixate on one guy like a Matthew Stafford, and I think that's going to be Chris Olave. And again, Olave, Calvin Ridley, it just hurts me it's going to hurt me the whole season watching these guys that I wasn't able to get them in either one of my leagues. Tua has insane accuracy. He might be the most accurate quarterback in the NFL, and I'm not even trying to exaggerate. Anybody that saw Tua in college at Alabama, other than maybe Bryce Young, because he is that good too, the accuracy was as good as I've ever seen from an NFL prospect. Andrew Luck was like that too. And yes, hopefully he can avoid injury. That's just a big problem for him. Do I drop Daniel Jones to pick up Mac Jones? No, don't do that yet. Drop Njoku for Hurst. That I would do. Hurst has less competition for targets, and let's face it, he's outplaying Njoku right now. Daniel Jones, I would not do that right now. Listen, that Dallas defense is something else. That was a really rough matchup for any team. I'm not going to throw in the towel yet on Daniel Jones. He had no time to throw, like none. And he's going to run. He's going to pick up yards on the ground. Mac Jones is not going to do that. I don't like this Patriots offense. If you're a Ramondre Stevenson owner, he saved his day with some late receptions, but you don't like seeing Ezekiel Elliott getting as much work as he did. So that was a little surprising there. The Atlanta Falcons, getting back to the Falcons, as good as Bijan Robinson's receiving was in that game, Tyler Algier got all 4 red zone carries. So he's the goal line back. And this is what, I had warned about. Algier having more of a say, more of an impact on carries than originally thought. I have Tyreek in the Dallas defense, Scrooby. Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, anybody who was playing that Dallas defense, it was rough. It was definitely rough, for sure. Luckily, I didn't play against either one of those guys. It's almost an automatic loss, right? I mean, when you play those guys. I was in the running in one of my leagues for the top score, which is $10 for a top score each week. And then the guy who had the Dallas defense blew by me, last night. So that was definitely disappointing, for sure. Now, guys, as far as the schedule the rest of the week, I'm going to be doing the waiver wire. I don't know if it's a live stream or a video tomorrow. I have a lot going on tomorrow, so I'm not sure about that. Wednesday, there will not be a stream Wednesday. I have a game Wednesday night because of the Jewish holiday, so we're not playing on the weekend or Friday. So I have a game Wednesday night. Thursday, definitely doing the fantasy cast for the first half of Minnesota-Philadelphia. And then, of course, Football Friday live stream. And then Sunday, the double streams as well. That's the schedule for the week. Give up on Seattle, JSN. No, it's one game. I mean, JSN, though, the targets may not be there right away. I start attack instead of Tua. Yeah, I mean, I guess. That over-under, you knew there was going to be a high-scoring game at Miami and the Chargers don't stop anybody. I think you would redo that one if you could. Yeah, it's hard. It really, and you're welcome, Clutch House. It's really hard to, second guess yourself sometimes, unless you drafted Cooper Kupp over Tyreek Hill, then you can second guess yourself, till the cows come home. So, but anyway, so what do you guys think? Do I have a chance to win this match tonight? I'm down 4 with Josh Allen. He's got Aaron Rodgers. Like, do I legitimately have a chance? I feel like I don't. I feel like these things never kind of really go my way when it comes down to Monday Night Football. I don't know if I'm going to stay up to watch the end of the game. I get up early, have to get up early for work. And, it's one of those things, I'm sure others have been there, where like you wake up in the middle of the night, you check your score, and you're like, if it's close, right? And you're like trembling and with half asleep as you're trying to see if you won or not in the middle of the night. It's like, and if you do, it's like, oh, great, you can go right back to sleep. You're elated. And if you lose, it's like, oh, shit. And, you start second guessing yourself at 3 a.m. and you don't get any sleep. Yeah, I'd rather have Allen and Rodgers too. So, but 4 points, I'd rather be either tied or a slight lead. Yeah, every win count. You want to get off to a 1-0 start in all your leagues. Thank you, Hans. I really appreciate that. I work hard at this, and I appreciate all the nice comments. And I have to say, I very, very rarely, I can maybe count on 10 fingers the amount of nasty or negative comments that I've gotten. And that's fine. That comes with the territory. You get trolls no matter what you do, right? I'm up 5 in Dak League. He has New York Jets defense. Ooh, that's going to be close. That one could go back and forth throughout the course of the night. It really could. Man, I hope Josh Allen has a big game. He does struggle against the Jets, though. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. Had a winning week with the picks, too, by the way, 3-2. Should not have picked Pittsburgh. I don't know why I did that. That was just dumb. I can't believe I did that. But I won with Miami, won with Tampa Bay, one with the Detroit, Kansas City under. What was the other one I lost at? Oh, Seattle. I mean, no regrets there. I didn't see that one coming. I don't think anybody did. And I'm sure there were a lot of people knocked out of the survivor pool. I had Baltimore in the survivor pool, so live to see another day. Probably going to go San Francisco this week. And here's the thing with the survivor pool. You don't want to get cute. A lot of people took Washington and almost paid the price, right? You really just take the obvious ones and just work your way. Go as far as you can. You can't look toward like week 8 and say, oh, I got to save this team when you could get knocked out in week 2 because you made the wrong pick. Like, you just can't do it that way. Oh, thank you. Yes, Clutch. I appreciate that. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. That's I love doing this, and I have a lot of fun doing it. Pitt looked good in preseason. Yeah, preseason, you can't tell with these guys. The 49ers are that good. They really are. So I'm not going to panic yet. Kenny Pickett played great this preseason, 5 touchdowns and 5 drives. But yeah, the accuracy wasn't good. It just wasn't good at all. And the thing is, he's got weapons. Deontay Johnson. No, I didn't get an update on Deontay Johnson, but the Steelers have weapons. But then now they're banged up. Freiermuth is hurt as well. They have Pickens. They have Austin, who had a decent game. So we'll just have to see what happens there. But when you play these really good teams, these really good defenses, it tends to skew things. Like with the Giants and Dallas. So we just have to see there. Anthony Richardson, like I said, oh, hi, Erwin, how are you? Anthony Richardson, it was as good as you could expect. He was a top 5 fantasy quarterback in his rookie debut. The accuracy, he missed some passes, some obvious ones. Pick up the Pats defense. You could do that. There's going to be a lot of high-scoring games in the AFC West. So you could definitely do that. They're well coached, that's for sure. Anthony Richardson, I have to admit, I was very hard on him all summer. And I think there's still going to be growing pains. Good point. Good point, Mark. Yeah, you want to be careful with that one, with Miami next. Trading for Kamara, it's worth it. I think Jamal Williams and Kendrick Miller might make that a little bit complicated, but you have a non-mobile quarterback who likes to throw check down, so it could work. Oh, man, yeah, Drake Londoner, when we went over that, I'm so disgusted. That's why I'm down 4 going into tonight, because I have a 0 from Drake London. Like, I should have won this matchup already. Anthony Richardson. So last year, Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf were 2 guys we all collectively avoided. And those who ignored the noise and drafted them were rewarded with really good value play. This year, that looks to be Michael Pittman, and it could be Mike Evans. So Michael Pittman had a huge week 1, and he had a huge week 1 last year, week 1. But if they're going to throw it this much with Anthony Richardson, he's going to zero in on Michael Pittman like this. Michael Pittman could be a huge value. And Mike Evans scored a touchdown, seemed like had a good thing going with Baker Mayfield. We all ignored Mike Evans. Getting up there in age, Baker Mayfield, he could be a supreme value. So those 2 guys we might have regrets on. Jahmyr Gibbs rest away. I think he's going to be fine. He's going to get more and more work as the season goes on. I would definitely buy low on him. He's too good to keep down. He is beyond explosive. Dave Montgomery, we know what he is. He's a 3 yards and goes down kind of guy. He's good in pass protection. There were no design receiving opportunities for him in that opener, so he's very limited. I got one from Kirk and 0 from Okonkwo. Yeah, Okonkwo. Hey, listen, as soon as DeAndre Hopkins landed in Tennessee, I wanted no part of Okonkwo. Evans in 1 league and flex because Watson was inactive. Yes, and, at least if you have Watson, you do feel good that Green Bay, Jordan Love looked good. And Mike Evans, listen, no matter who the quarterback is, he puts up his 1,000 yards and his double-digit touchdowns. And listen, we got to hand it to Baker Mayfield. He had a good game. Roscoe Johnson can take over for Kale. Yeah, you know what? He played when the game was out of hand, but he looked good. And Roscoe Johnson, if anybody doesn't know, he sat behind Bijan Robinson in college. And so he wasn't able to really showcase as much as he could because of the limited opportunities. But he was a really good prospect who just didn't get the notoriety because of his teammate overshadowing him. I'm going to pick up Roscoe Johnson where I could because I think as the season goes on, yes, he's going to be the guy. Khalil Herbert started out good the first quarter, but then he quickly faded. Interested in Puka Nakar, ready to drop Jaden? Yeah, I would do that. Or because when Christian Watson comes back, Jaden Reed's not going to do anything. And, he got banged up yesterday, cramps and then some ribs, and he's very slight. So I'm not apt to hold on to Jaden Reed. I'm just not. So I would definitely be interested in Roscoe Johnson. And Puka Nakar, we got to see, right? See if there's any staying power. Poor man's QB wide receiver stack, Herbert and Keenan Allen. Hey, look, I like both of those guys. I've been a lifelong Keenan Allen fan. I did fade him this year because of the age and coming off the injury-prone season that he had. So, there is that. But, so far so good. Allen looked good yesterday. And, Mike Evans, he just can't stay healthy. So, he had a head scare yesterday. So who knows what's going to happen there. All right, guys, just about 7:30. I'm going to sign off on this. About 40 minutes that I've been on tonight. So it was a good stream again. Thank you for joining me. Look for the video or the stream tomorrow. Probably going to be a video for the waiver wire, so look for that. Have a great night, guys. Enjoy the Jets. Go Josh Allen. I need 4.01 points. Let's do this. Good luck, guys. I will check in with you tomorrow.